Hi there, this is Vahid from the RF Education channel, and today I am with you with the fourth session of MongoDB tutorial. In this session, we're going to talk about documents inside MongoDB in detail. First, we go through the document specification and some points about documents, and after that, we're going to check what's embedded or nested document. And then we're going to see how we can use arrays inside our document and how to access element inside the array of a document. There's a very cool way to access it. You're not gonna believe it. As I mentioned in previous session, collection in MongoDB are equivalent to table in RDBMS. So in RDBMS, a table can have multiple rows and columns. Similarly, in MongoDB, a collection can have multiple documents which are equivalent to rows. Each document has multiple fields which are equivalent to the columns. So in simple terms, each MongoDB document is a record and a collection is a table that can store multiple documents. Let's see a diagram. Here we have a document. A document is contained within a curly braces. It contains multiple fields in key and value notation. This is the key and this is the value. And here we have underline ID or underscore ID, first name and last name as the fields. And the value are separated using the colon. And then each field is going to separate from the other ones using a comma. So we don't need to use comma for the last ones. And a collection can have multiple such documents separated by comma. Okay, and they are not forced to have the same schema. We will see it very soon. Now let's see another diagram. Here is a collections schema, and this chart gonna help us to understand the relation between database, collections, and documents. We have a database named Human Resource DB. 3 different collections are created inside this database: employees, addresses, and departments. And each one can have some documents. Here we have only one document for each, and these are some basic documents. This is another sample of a document. Here we have a couple of fields. Some of them are a string. This one is object ID type. I'm going to talk about it very soon. And here we have date type. This one is an array of items. So I'm going to talk about it again very soon. And here we have a nested object. And also, if your fields or your columns doesn't contain a space in their names, you can just omit quotation from the name, and you can use this notation without quotation. But if you have, for example, a space between last and name, you need to use double quotation around the field inside the document. And when we pass a document using this notation, a JSON notation, to MongoDB driver, it converts it to JSON object. JSON is a binary representation of the data that we provide for MongoDB, and it's much more efficient for MongoDB to work with binary data instead of strings and characters and etc. So this is the way that MongoDB works. It doesn't know anything about the JSON data and converts it to JSON data type. Here are some points about documents inside MongoDB. MongoDB reserves underline ID name or field for use as unique primary key field that holds object ID type. However, we can give any name to this field, and also we can use any data type other than object ID, and we will check it when we want to insert some data inside a collection. And also a document field cannot be null, but the value can be. So we need to specify the name for field explicitly. And most MongoDB documents cannot have duplicate field names. However, some drivers can store a document with a duplicate field in your application. It directly depends on which driver you're using for MongoDB. And also, a document can be, as I mentioned earlier, be without quotation mark if you don't need to use a space in your field names. But if you are forced to use a space in the field names, you need to use double quotation around the field names. And also, if you want to access to item inside a document, we can use a dot notation, and it's very cool to use dot notation to access items inside array, and we will see it very soon. And also MongoDB support maximum document size of 16 megabytes. And if you want to save a document that its size more than 16 megabytes, you need to use GridFS. It's a plugin for MongoDB that lets you store documents with the size more than 16 megabytes. And one important thing that you should take care about is fields inside a JSON document are ordered. It means that field order is important while comparing two documents. For example, here we have a document, X is the first field and the Y is second. And for the second document, we just change the order. Y is the first and X is the second. So these are not equal in comparison when we want to use MongoDB. So take care to compare or reserve the order of fields in your documents. And also MongoDB keeps the order of fields except underline ID field, which always is the first field. So you don't need to be worried about the underline ID. It's always being considered as the first field. And also MongoDB collection can store documents with different fields. It doesn't enforce any schema. It's one of the most important flexibility that MongoDB or NoSQL databases provides for us. We don't need to use a predefined schema for our data inside the collection. We can save different type of data schema inside one collection. So it's not applicable to RDBMSs. We need to follow the table definition to insert data based on the columns, and sometimes we can just ignore some nullable columns. But if we want to support or support such flexibility as NoSQL databases, we need to deal with a lot of null field values in our table, and it's very inefficient. The next type of document is embedded or nested document. A document in MongoDB can have fields that hold another document. The following is an embedded document where the department and the address field contains another document. Okay, department is just another document, and also address is another document, and the phone inside the address is just another document. And there are some points about embedded documents. An embedded document can contain up to 100 levels of nesting and support again maximum size of 16 megabytes. And embedded documents can be accessed using dot notation. For example, here we can access a phone number using address.phone.number. This dot notation that is very similar for programmers. And the last type that I'm gonna check is array. A field in the document can hold array. Arrays can hold any type of data or embedded documents. So here again, we are free to use any data type inside an array, and it's somehow like a variant data type inside other programming languages such as C++. And this is array that we created here using bracket notation, and put 3 different string inside the skills field inside our document. And also we can use dot notation to access to elements inside the arrays. For example, here skills point 1 or dot 1 is somehow point to this one, because indexes are start from 0. This is 0, 1, and 2, and we don't need to use bracket such as program language such as Java or C# to access to the array elements. We can just use dot notation, skills.1, 2, 3, and the others. So this is how we can deal with arrays in documents of MongoDB. So these are the basic concepts about documents in MongoDB. In next session, I'm going to show you how to insert documents into collections in MongoDB, and then after that we're going to see how we can find documents or fetch data from MongoDB and show it in mongoosh. Till next session, goodbye.